Hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back. I, you know, coming into this game, I thought we would all be happy friends, just moving around, just holding hands and swinging things back and forth. Things are okay. And then we got into the game and everybody's mad at each other, and I don't know why. Why can't we all be friends, Aaron?
I'm so lost. Did I miss?
No, I mean, I'm just saying it's like DK Crew, all they want to do is just slam some bananas, and EGP just want to win. And I guess when you have such opposing views on things, you truly can never have one without the other, and this game did show that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with all of the globals on the side of EGP, they couldn't really do anything alone, and there weren't really any option for DK Crew to do, even if they did finally decide to play heavy through lanes with jungle support instead of waiting 4 lanes to do the initial part of the job. They would have been met with too much on the side of EGP. It was very easy for them to play early groupings out. It was very difficult for DK Crew to find any individual advantage. Even though they had technically winning bottom, theoretically winning mid, though winning mid ended up going Conqueror, so now at that point they're committed to scaling for fights, but they just get outscaled by Comp on the left, and EGP, we knew that they were going to be a monster in these team fights. They picked the composition that is also really, really strong in those team fight scenarios, and they were able to pull it off. After the first big team fight, the game was basically over.
So you had hope. Is that still there?
Well, I mean, DK Crew kind of did what I told them not to do. They just sort of picked for standard. They picked for scaling. They had Zins out to try and bridge the team into scaling. But EGP just picked better scalers, better camps that are stronger in the early skirmishes. So they didn't really get to do what I was hoping they would do.
So from what I hear from you is that EGP picked better champions, and they played better through the stages of the game that they needed to. Isn't that League of Legends?
That's what they did. I mean, obviously, DK Crew is red side. They're supposed to have the benefit of counter picks, but their counter picks didn't really show up. I mean, the Azir and Silas was supposed to be a happy matchup. As Veteran said, he took Conqueror, so he's not really playing to dominate the lane. So it just didn't feel like they had a lane to play to get an advantage.
Somebody get Ryan, bro. He needs to show them that first strike Silas is where it's at. It was the highest win Keystone. So
just take first strike on everyone. Karthus, Senna.
As you should. First strike is banging. But
first strike, treasure hunter, futures market, just the bank setups.
The richest player in League of Legends will be you if you manage to cop that, of course. But another way you can do that is, of course, kill champions. And I do want to take a quick look at a kill that I find truly did cement what this game was supposed to be. That being the topside solos that continued to happen not only in the beginning, but of course all throughout the entire game, right? Because we did mention, because one thing you can't do is give Faisal Olaf here, Izo.
Yeah, I mean, Faisal has shown why he's the king of top. He gets his counterpick matchup, and he will just sort of not care. I mean, Gnar gets to hit everything on him, but you cannot kill the Faisal Olaf. He's just going to stand still, take it from you, and I mean, he beat the Gnar up.
Yeah, I was also noticing that too. I was like, man, my man really threw every single ability at him like twice, and he still didn't manage to kill him. Now that's really unfortunate.
You also have to hit those abilities,
He hit them. He did. He got him into the wall. He got the Q on him, right? Maybe he missed the stun, but that's fine. It's realistically, he landed on the damaging ones. Maybe a couple of autos here and there clearly shows that it would not have made the difference with the Olaf execute that app smited him down. But there was one more way veteran that we were looking at that perhaps a team fight could have been their saving grace. But unfortunately, with the first team fight that happened, I find all that really just allowed you to see how the rest of the game would eventually plan out, fight after fight.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the first fight was really, really close as well, as you're going to see on your screen in a second. This could have ended up going either way, but ultimately EG have an immense amount of sustain on their team as well from that Senna, as well as the damage. So initially they are all able to go in shielded. This gives Faisal a lot of room to breathe here. Maya just ends up playing zone control on 2 of them as Faisal deals with everyone else in the backline. Even though Hybrid is coming with the setup, the fight's almost decided already. But look, Doxa, Yukino, Nombre at the top there were all really, really low. You could see that there is a world where they were able to pull back that fight. But EG, they split, they used the terrain, they used the fog of war, they did not let DK crew get on top of them, and they were able to clean up the fight utilizing their ranges and utilizing their healthiest players to close it out. None of the other fights were as close as that one. Once that fight was over, the deal was basically sealed. It was just a case of when EGP would win and not if.
I could not have said it better myself. EGP yet again continue to cement why they've been such a dominant team and one of the top contenders in the overall amateur scene as they continue to develop throughout here. But Isaac, the question is now though, what do DK crew do next? You said not to like pick standard chaps, but now what?
I really hope they switch it up. I mean, now they'll have side select. I'm not sure if they're selecting red side again. I kind of hope they do so they can get They have selected red. So I do think that they should utilize stronger counter picks so that they can actually have a lane to play towards. If they're going to be putting shorter ace on a jungler like Xin Zhao, an early game focused like playmaker, they need to have somewhere where he can actually play towards and not just have him running around like putting out fires, essentially.
Yeah, shorter aces in general needs to be more active on the map, which unfortunately we did not see. But Veteran, I don't know if you hold a different opinion.
It's really difficult for me because I really like the composition EGP came in with. Like, they were able to hold early very, very well, no matter what, even if they DK crew do their adaptations, and they were able to win late. DK crew almost need to be a different team than the DK crew who's seen the entire tournament to take on these guys. You could definitely go the counterpick route for hybrids, but we've never seen a DK crew that plays with counterpick hybrids and plays heavy towards topside like that as a grouping. And even if they did that this game, post level 6, you're just going to get met with the Carthus Senna. So there's things they have to deny if they even want to do these pivots on the side of EGP. But this is only one game plan EGP have. They're going to have come in with another. They're going to have been expecting that. So I feel quite confident with the 2-0 prediction right now. I do hope DK crew can pull something out and find a way.
I do hope as well too. So right now we're looking at DK crew has enough potassium to make it all the way to game 3, or if EGP are going to decide that we're going to have a bit of an earlier day today. I don't know, you don't know, but there's 2 people who are going to show us and find out. That's going to be the cast duo Raleigh, who are up to the stand. Let's see it.
You know, I think I don't. Do I like Raleigh better? Do I like Jocks? I'm not sure at this point, but I like that we're getting. I like that he's trying. I guess is what I'll go with. Rebel Fox.
He's got a bunch of them scrawled in a notebook because we're his favorite casting care. So it's like he's got fan fictions and stuff, just with like all the different names written out.
I love it. I love it. You know, we'll have to see if he can be more creative than just adding, you know, the first letter to the last part of our names or not. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with the desk, at least in what they discussed in terms of DK crew, especially the fact that they have selected red side again. Not only do they need to get more effective counter picks, I just need to see counter picks, man, because I don't think I saw any counter. They were first blind picking on the red side.
It was I don't know. It's a really weird thing with DK crew. It feels like they're picking extremely stock standard type compositions when they've got players that shouldn't be, right? A lot of them came from Harrisburg. We've talked about that plenty, and they oftentimes play very button down type compositions, very standard type gameplay. And they talked about how like this has been an opportunity for them to really step outside of that and to take some more aggressive plays, take some more non-standard type adjustments and things like that. And I'm hoping they do it with their composition too, because this is not how we want to see DK crew leave. Potentially this series, this tournament, and then maybe even like proving grounds potentially is on the line for them as well. So like you want to see them stand up to this, be resilient against EGP. At least give us one more. And if they're gonna do it, go down swinging. Give us some entertaining stuff. Give us some exciting stuff. Give us stuff that you want to leave your mark with.
I agree. Yeah, kind of step out of the comfort zone. And, you know, that was kind of what Izo was requesting, right? And that's why when they came back to the desk, he's like, well, they kind of did everything that I told them not to do. And so that's the unfortunate side is usually, you know, you come out swinging, right? Usually you come out saying, all right, let's try something risky. Let's try to see if we can get away with something. And then you sort of fall back to your comfort zone. But really, DK Crew doesn't quite have the opportunity to do that here because they tried to go more in their comfort zone with that game number 1, and it did not work out well for them. So I need to see a little bit more cohesion in terms of the actual, you know, composition itself, instead of just these puzzle pieces that they're trying to maybe find out how they can mash them together, you know, by saying, oh, this has the same border, right? This has the same color. Just because you've got a late game jungle does not mean that it makes your composition late game, right? You have to have a little bit more formation, a little bit more build up around that. So just honestly, cohesion. That's kind of the big word that sticks out in my mind when it comes to what I want to see out of this next draft from DK Crew.
Not to mention, we know that EGP are incredibly good team fighters. You don't want to take a chance against that team, right? They've got individual skill in spades. You saw that. Doxa and Faisal both had some really incredible situations where like they were showing off some individual play inside lanes, outside of lanes, things like that. But their team fighting also just shined through a number of times. Even when it was close, like they had talked about on the desk, it still favored very heavily to the side of EGP because they were able to close out fights really effectively, even when it was close. So to me, I don't think you play for team fighting, which is the standard way of playing League of Legends. You have to figure out something else. Give us something a little bit, off kilter here, because that's what we really want. For EGP, if they get to run back a similar composition, a similar style of play, I feel like it's really, really easy for them to just walk in super confident and to take a series like this, just off the back of them feeling themselves a little bit.
Yeah, and confidence is definitely a word that I used several times in the last game, right? The picks themselves, they didn't even need a real frontline aggressor because they knew individually they could perform so well. Of course, yes, they ended up having that Olaf to supply exactly that, but he wasn't like a standard tank initiator. He was going off on his own. He was finding these solo kills, or he was actually pulling in the enemy team and forcing out these lengthy these lengthy fights to where the rest of EGP was able to join in way after they should have been able to.
You know who was the standard tank initiator? Yukino on the Talon. Instead of going for the pure lethality, instead of going for pure damage, went for the Gorzanker, played some really, really like aggressive type movements. Like you had called it during the game, like just roaming around the jungle, controlling all the pathing, controlling anywhere the DK Crew was really able to go. They had to respect so heavily Yukino's movements, and not always perfect, not always like, oh yeah, you jump in, get an assassination, immediately get out. Yukino played so heavily, and so the perfect word for it is confidently on the talent pick that I would be terrified to see it a second time if they anticipate the Xin Zhao coming back. I'd love to see it some more, because EGP's been creative with their compositions. I think it's time, DK Crew can match. We talked about that quite a bit, but I love that EGP has that type of flexibility where any of their players can kind of step up in the right composition.
Yep, can step up anywhere. And that's, I mean, flex picks are my favorite picks. They always have been, all right? I love to see an early lock-in for, a second pick Karthus, where it's like, all right, this could literally actually go anywhere on this team. EGP could take this anywhere. And of course, they put it in the bottom lane, which just ends up being a spectacular lane. And DK Crew, I will say, did an exceptional job in countering them in the early parts of the game. The Aphelios, right, the Karma, they had a lot of damage. They actually had a lot of good pressure, but what happened was Talon just came in and kept cutting off Evan Orel behind their own tower when they thought they made a successful play, or a play that they were able to successfully evade from at least. So it's not going to be something against Faisal or Yukino. It's actually going to be the Sylas ban away, which means that the Zeri, which was their third ban in game number 1, will be able to come through, and it is first lock-in for EGP.
And now I do wonder if you go right back to Senna Tom Kench here as a combination for Evan RL and Clyde. They do like that pairing. I know Evan RL is a massive Senna player. We've seen it banned from this team. We've seen them pick it before. I wouldn't be surprised about it. I'd like to see something different alongside it than the Tom Kench necessarily, but it's possible. No, they go right back to the Gnar. This is such a huge pick for DK Crew that they've been forcing it. Ooh, okay. That's a little spicier. That's a little better.
I like that. There's some at least counter pickability, and so I think I mentioned before with the Gnar pick. It's like Gnar pick it's one of the somewhat safer picks when it comes to the blind pick, but still not quite worthy of a first pick blind pick every single time, especially when you're going into someone like Faisal. And so what's it gonna be? Easy peasy, no questions asked. Just lock the Olaf back in, and hey, we might even be seeing some Taliyah play back here from Doxa.
I'm a little terrified because this is looking good for EGP. I'm a little scared. And not only does Mia get something that's a little bit more damage oriented earlier in the game, but also much more mobile, which is what she definitely loves playing in the mobility type ADCs, things like that, to be able to work around inside of fights. So gonna feel more comfortable than the Karthus in the last game. Not that she played badly or anything, but again, going to look completely different in the bottom lane in terms of this game. But again, you get the Olaf against the Gnar. I said they should ban it. They didn't. Now look what you've done. And then Talia as well for Doxa. Take away from Savage. More pressure across the map. I don't know. Like, this feels like DK Crew, again, has not learned from the 3 games they have lost to this team in a row yet.
Yeah, and running back 2 of these same champions, right? The Renata Glass, because they're looking forward a little bit towards, who Zeri might do well with. Definitely a good idea. But again, I mean, it's like they just kind of have not really acknowledged the top side of the map. They're like, all right, hybrids, Savage for a good porst, doing and hopefully stay alive. We're going to put most of our focus and effort into MNRL and Clyde. But while they seemed successful in doing that in game number 1, what did it matter? And we haven't even gotten the selection yet for Yukino, so we still have to see exactly how the battle in the jungle is going to go through. The Nautilus and the Trundle are the final bans away from EGP, and then they're going to round things out on DK Crew with not just that Renata Glass, but also the Yone to avoid even more initiation out of EGP.
Some interesting bans in the second phase here. I'm curious for the flexibility types of things. Because you got like Yone as the ban, as a curiosity as to whether or not they end up flexing like the Thalia into the jungle, or even crazier, they put the Olaf in the jungle and they put the Yone in the top lane, something like that. Not gonna be the case. And then Trundle, I think, take it away just as a defense mechanism for any sort of early action. It's probably one of the better ones. Shorter Race does end up on Lee Sin, though. This is a Shorter Race special. Hopefully something he's gonna be able to act with very, very quickly. They're holding support pick until 5. I am praying that Clyde has got spice for us here, because I'm going to be really frustrated if it ends up being like a Nautilus or a Leona. I'm guessing it's Pike is likely the chance here, especially now you have the potential to maybe punish this Yuumi with it.
I don't even want to cast this. Okay, the Pike might be the lock-in. I don't want to cast this, Rebel Fox. You know what? This is EGP once again saying, hey, we are confident, we are aggro. Oh, but you know what? This makes me want to cast it because we got the Singe locked in. All right, I am a big fan. That is DK Crew kind of going out of the comfort zone, going out of their way to pick up something spicy. Not just a Shorter Ace special there with the Lee Sin. We got a Tristana Singed bot lane. I'm loving it. We got the purple and the green. Look at that.
We do have that on both sides, which is kind of cool. Okay, so for DK, I don't like that they picked, once again, Gnar, and they left up Olaf because they knew what was going to happen. Shorter Ace on the Lee Sin into the Talia. She presses E, he tries to Q, he gets stunned. It's not necessarily always a great situation, so I don't think it's perfect necessarily for Shorter Ace. Mid lane, Doxa is absolutely on top of things. He says, I will beat Savage no matter the circumstance. I've played inside of Collegiate before, I will do it again, and he's beaten lots of people, and this Zed pick is one of his absolute favorites, one of his best champions in the world to go flexing on as fast as possible. The one place there's a bit of innovation for the side of DK Crew is Clyde, who goes for the Singed pick into the Yuumi. But again, it's just such a mobile bot lane that you have to punish the Yuumi really effectively. But again, if Zeri is able to position properly, it feels like Mia's getting tested just as much as Donbray inside of this laning phase. So I have my qualms, but maybe there's something a little more electrifying about the bot lane here.
I sure do hope so. As we get into game number 2, it is match point here for EGP going up against DK Crew, who have once again decided to lock in the red side here for some counter pickability, and we finally get to see a little bit of that Rebel Fox. But honestly, I'm just excited they've made a spicy pick like Singed. That's a spicy pick, all right?
It's not as spicy as it was, because remember, this has been picked as a counter pick to the Yuumi for a little bit of time. It's not everyone's picking to Yuumi, and Yuumi doesn't get played that much, so it barely sees time. But it does exist in the modern, kind of understanding of the game, and I love that Clyde does bring it out. And especially with a Tristana, if you want to jump on this bottom lane, again, it feels like Mia's going to get tested really effectively in this lane, because she's going to have to position it perfectly to make sure that, again, neither the support nor her are going to get jumped on by either Clyde or MNRL. Both have the possibility of getting in and get very aggressive in the earlier parts of the laning phase. But once you get out of it, it's a little easier to try to manage. You're just worried that, finally DK Crew have cracked the code of maybe if we play directly to our bottom lane and try to get MNRL a ton of gold to start with, things might work out.
Yeah, and that's where the counterplay hopefully comes in for them. I do like mobile global teams and comps, and you've got the mobility at least coming out of DK Crew. You got a little bit of hesitate. No, we'll make that. That's a word. With Yukino being able to come through on the Weaver's wall. But that's where, you know, I get kind of scared again, is really just the amount of damage, the amount of presence that EGP has right from the very start of this game. DK Crew is going to have to kind of sustain themselves a bit, and particularly for Hybrids and Savage right now, and just trying to be able to stay alive, because those are some of the most important lanes, and it's been counter picks across the board for EGP.
And I think they should bail on this idea of playing towards those lanes. DK Crew might have come to the conclusion, once again, that playing to bot's their best bet, and so they don't play to Savage, they don't play to Hybrids, they're going to leave them be. I think that's a little bit of a risky proposition. That's a ward that catches Clyde, who's just positioning so far up to make sure, once again, you're respecting that, as Mia and Donbray both have to be careful, just getting flipped and immediately getting separated, getting brought down very quickly from a Tristana. I'm not going to fall victim to it at all. The fear here, of course, also, once again, is there's plenty of option potentially for EG. Oh, wait, how did this happen? Was it a flash? Yeah, double summons down for Clyde.
And that was a barrier. And that was a heal.
Yeah. Everything down from, everything but the ignite for Donbray burn during the course of that. But they did survive the first engagement from Clyde. He has Hex Flash, but it's going to be quite a bit harder. It's this lane reminds me of Set, actually. Because Set in the olden days, like when you played him in support, not a lot of people do it anymore. If you flashed at level 1, you won the laning phase, because he just presses E and then he face breakers you, and then you either have to flash and burn all of your cooldowns, or you die. Those are your two options, and it felt like Clyde was doing a very similar thing right there.
Look at that, a little fun fact. Singe Support has had 3 pro games since 2015, all 3 in Season 12. So that's a 7-year span. Actually, with no Singe pro play. And, you know, I'm not that surprised, but literally just having the opportunity to separate Mia and Donbray, separate Yuumi from whoever they are with, is good enough of a reason to bring this one out. And, you know, Singe has always been one of those fun picks down towards the bottom lane. Anybody with a flip is always, if you're in low elo, pull a flip into the bottom lane. It is incredibly fun to actually make it meta, to actually bring it into effect here, is something that I'm always excited to see, but we're going to have to exactly see how DK Crew can pull this one off. The Ignite was used in that previous encounter as well to try to take down Mia, so that is another resource that DK Crew does not have for themselves. Not just that flash. Of course, Evan RL has both of those summoners available for himself, and they do have a lot of pressure here for DK Crew on the bottom side. But once again, look at all the vision that has been placed offensively by DK Crew, just to make sure that they've got eyes if Yukino decides to roam, if Doxa decides to roam, anything towards that bottom side of the map, because that is where they are focusing their aggro.
There's just so much ability to see anybody coming for a very, very long time for a while here from the side of DK Crew, as you actually get your first redeploy from Yukino to the top side of the map. I wouldn't be shocked to try to see some play in Anar. I'm going to take this moment to talk about something, because you made the mention of flip bottom lane. I'm okay, wait, I'm going to wait for this real quick, because Clyde is just kind of menacingly... that was a little bold, Clyde. You were getting it. Oh, actually, that's great. That's wonderful. Oh,
that one works. Close. He's not going to be able to get the flip. And Donbray actually kind of preemptively there, stepping away to say, hey, maybe I can separate myself so that I'm not kind of thrown away, right? Because it is that moment of separation where you are not really able to do anything as the Yuumi. It's not just getting that support off of the AC and locking down the ADC. It's also kind of setting off the timing on really just being able to sort of counterplay as Donbray here. So nice little anticipation. And of course, Yukino deciding to make his way down here. We can see Clyde just threw down a nice deep ward to make sure that if they try to catch Yukino either coming off of Krugs, maybe heading back towards the dragon, anything like that, they've got eyes on him.
Oh, here
there they will. It's the initiation. It doesn't scare him, though. DK Crew decides to go, and even knowing that Yukino is right there in the wings, that means the Ignite is going to come out here from Donbray. It's going to be the first blood going over to Yukino, who has to flash away from this one shorter. Ace flashing in. The flip going through. That means that Mia is going to end up going down. It's a 1-for-1 EGP getting first blood.
The intention right there, I think, it might have actually been, I don't think I saw the flip from Clyde for a second. It might have been that he was trying to hold it for the engagement coming in from Yukino. Okay, you're not going to get a lot more because Yukino is completely out of mana, and this early on, not that much damage, really. They're trying to put some pressure in, trying to find something here. Evan's pretty low. They should be careful, because again, if a little bit of mana comes back for the Talia, that could be problematic. But yeah, I think Clyde was holding the flip, actually, until the last possible second to try to use it defensively for himself so he can get away. I love the way this played out, because watch, he throws the W down, he gets Donbray in it, and then uses the slipstream off the back of Evan. Oh, yeah, he didn't catch the Evan RL. Yeah, no flip, didn't use it. I think he was saving it for Yukino. Ends up going down before it ends up being all that useful, before it ends up getting anything, and I wonder if that would have bought a little more time maybe to catch Mia, or maybe to force out the rest of this play. Or maybe you make this into a 3v2 before anything went down. But yeah, I think holding that ability, maybe didn't have mana for it. I didn't exactly pay attention to his mana bar right there, but definitely not a tool that might have been used by Clyde that could have maybe changed how that went.
Yeah, if he was trying to get towards Yukino, of course, Yukino is just absolutely incredible at these seismic shoves. And so it was a really well-timed seismic shove to say, all right, now get out of here. You're not going to be able to flip me, and I'm going to be able to pick up that first kill. So we can see the seal has been locked in here by Yukino. Already has 2 stacks on top of that one, definitely looking to supercharge the amount of damage that they're able to put out. And it was Mia that ended up going down. So DK Crew, you know what? They don't feel great about that one. But the one kill that they were able to transfer over at least ended up going on to Evan RL, who they are trying to jack up. And the one person that went down for them was Clyde, not Evan. So they do not feel absolutely horrible about that. It ended up being a 1-for-1. Sure, they didn't get the first blood, but the transfer over there, at least to, who the kill goes to and who the kill is received from on the other side, ends up working their way.
And I anticipate this to be a consistent trend. If Shoulder Ace can continue to get down to the bottom side of the map and put more pressure, maybe get the first tower down there for Tristana this time, especially if Hybrids and Savage just play a lot more defensively than what they had in the previous game, there's a big chance that they can actually take advantage of it. Start moving the Tristana around the map, getting some additional plates elsewhere. If they can rush it, Rift Herald is a big potential for this as well. You got 15 seconds till it's up, and it's been Shoulder Ace who's been just wrapping from top into bottom lane as much as possible to attempt to put in pressure, and they could trade that, right? Rift Herald is getting turned onto. If they have any vision, which they do have Scuttle and Top River, if Shoulder Ace catches wind of that, could just immediately turn into bottom lane. At minimum for Dragon, at maximum, could be looking for a big Dragon's Rage kick that could put both Mia and Dawnbray in position for death.
And the move is down towards Dragon. Maybe to, excuse me, getting more aggressive vision once again. It's still too far, EGP keep positioning themselves here behind this tower. Now, this is a play that EGP actually found success on earlier, where it ended up being a dive behind tower. A nice little attempt right there by Savage to pick up the Emperor's Divide, but Mia pre-flashes that one to avoid it.
Yeah, make sure not to fall down at all. This was pretty evident that this was going to happen from the side of the DK crew, right? You even had like Savage step out of lane early to make sure that was going to happen. They hadn't seen Shoulder Ace on the map. They knew no one was in Top River. This felt like it was really telegraphed very heavily, as Savage has no ultimate. Jumped right into Doxa. Try to find something. Clyde's not going to be able to tag the W to be able to get anything additional. Hybrids is in a bad place. That's not good. That's very not good.
Nope, not good at all. Hybrids had to flash at the start of that one. Of course, Faisal just says, great, Ragnarok once more. Let's turn the Ghost on. And it is, again, solo kills occurring in the top side. It's the same matchup. And there's only so safe you can be. That's a nice little lockdown right there onto Yukino, who will absolutely go down to Shoulder Ace. So it ends up being another trade across the map.
There we go. It's like, that felt a little too much from Yukino, just because you're already winning in a lot of places. The Dragon was potentially on the board as well. The minimum setup should have been taken right there, but DK Crew had enough members on bottom side that they catch out Yukino, probably on a ward walking through the middle of the river, and they just punish really effectively. Finally actually getting something back, because again, they put so much into the bottom side here in the last couple of minutes to try to get some kind of return, some kind of pressure for Evan RL. It could end up working out. They're actually going to try a little bit more. They almost got a third plate, which would be huge. And there's still no Dragon taken. Maybe they're trying to bait them in for this Dragon take so they can try to fight them around this. Because Yukino is coming back.
I liked that move by Doxa, too, to actually navigate down towards the Dragon. There wasn't really anything there that he could get, but what it did end up doing is it made Savage recognize, all right, I just saw Doxa move down towards that mid lane. We know that Yukino's not there because he just died in that previous encounter, and therefore it made Shoulder Ace curious enough to waste a little bit of time and poke his face down there, and then you know exactly where Shoulder Ace is, at least off the spawn for Yukino. So a little bit of choreographed work right there as well, and it does mean that EGP is going to be able to make the move onto this one, because during all that time, DK Crew didn't actually take advantage of their positioning for this Dragon.
Yeah, they had set up so much for bottom side, attempting to make an aggressive play. Oh, that's Doxa. He might just kill Savage.
Oh, no way. It's still going to be enough. Savage ends up staying alive, barely. That means the favor of kills goes now to DK Crew.
Yeah, props to Savage right there, because I think Doxa had burned the Q really early in that fight and didn't burn the ultimate. I think maybe he was waiting for a good position. If he had waited for a second Shadow, potentially a second Shuriken, that probably was the death of Savage, as Faisal gets put in the wall, but Hybrids is below half health.
Yeah. Faisal did not, I think he was waiting for the setup for that Gnar, because you do have, you know, a microsecond basically where you see the charge up for that ultimate to where the Ragnarok can be used to avoid being able to get actually hit by that Gnar. Let's see if this recall is blocked out. Faisal's going to burn Ragnarok right now.
Oh, no way!
Pick up the kill. He finds the second one. Oh my god, he wins the double before Yukino can even get there.
That was absurd. That was absurd. He's got a Hearthbound Axe for AD right now, and he just ripped those two to pieces. Blind walks into the rush, stops the back from shorter ace. They 100% thought they had him dead to rights. They wouldn't have even thought for a second there. Otherwise, 100%. Yukino had ulted up there, and Faisal had them dead for seconds before the ultimate landed. Like, what is this? Game 1, they didn't figure it out. Game 2, they didn't figure it out. Game 3, they didn't figure it out. DK Crew, ban the champion. Please, look at this. Like, you cannot tell me that after 3 games of getting crushed by this in the top lane, that he was not begging for them to please ban the champion. And yet here's Faisal once again just 2v1ing at level 10 this early into the game. Incredible.
I mean, at level 10, though, is the other thing to consider. You know, Shorter Ace was sitting at level 7. He was 3 levels up. Now, let's take a look if there's anything that can be done by Doxa. Some fancy footing, a flash over the wall into the red buff side. Oh, my God. So much damage coming out of Yukino. He's going to be able to pick it up with a seismic shove and then follow it up with a Q of his own. And now it's just Clyde and Savage on the run.
And again, it's like DK Crew are trying to lean into bottom side. They're trying to do what they can to set up bottom side so that, you know, Evan Rail can get some gold. They've done a good job of it, not a great job of it. And slowly EGP, like their individual skill is really showing. Their top side presence is really showing, right? Doxa hasn't been able to pop off yet, but Faisal with 3 kills, Yukino with 2 kills. They're doing fine on bottom side. It feels like the same iteration of the game that we've been watching for the last 2 times that these teams have played against each other in best of 4s, where it's just top side is winning, but, you know, bottom side isn't losing that badly, and eventually EGP just beat them outright because they end up, you know, superior team fighting, champions are a lot stronger, that type of thing. And DK Crew has never had the look of a team that's really been competitive, and it's really unfortunate. I'm hoping they force for this bottom tower. I think that's the only way they stay in this game, is if Evan RL can pull this bottom tower 100%, maybe if they get a kill on bottom lane alongside it, then their Tristanas may be powerful enough, especially with Savage doing fine in the mid lane, but that's the only way I see them even staying relevant right now before you know, any sort of big fight.
They at least have that opportunity, all right? And I can't say that much, you know, could have really been said last game, right? Last game, we were at 14 minutes, and it really felt like EGP had full control. There are still these kind of saving grace opportunities that DK Crew has for themselves, and it's these 2 1-0-1 potential carries. Not only carries, but also you got scaling available, which is something that was really lackluster for them in the last game for DK Crew, so you got to be feeling a little bit better. Now, the concern as well is some of the fall off that you've also got on this team, and how much of an opportunity they're really going to have to actually deal the damage necessary, because on the other side, EGP and their damage right there is absolutely absurd.
It's really funny because right there, Doxa had seen Shorter Ace, and Shorter Ace saw Doxa, but Shorter Ace did not see Yukino coming in, which was the big problem here. And I think it was the anticipation that Shorter Ace thought that Doxa was going to be making a play onto Savage in the mid lane, and until the seismic shove was beneath him, he didn't even realize that he was the one that was finding the aggression, and it took nothing. It was a seismic shove, full combo from Yukino, and then just a couple of shurikens coming out from Doxa to find the 1 kill. Is again, Yukino doing better, making action inside of this game as well. That is huge damage.
Oh my gosh, and in goes Mia. Sure, Dawnbray is there. Just gonna hop back and forth between the 2 of them. This is the problem again. Once again, it's the damage. There's too much damage from EGP right now.
And it's a matter of like Hen Boots, Everfrost immediately. That's great from Yukino to kick things off. Mia was able to show up with Dawnbray that, like, even if Yukino ends up getting punished and, like, it takes a couple more seconds and they still deliver Mia and Dawnbray there, it still ends up being a double kill, and they're perfectly fine with that because it's like, okay, what, we gave a kill over to Evan RL for 2 over to Yukino, potentially the bottom tower as well, getting aggressed against. You know, bottom lane as well, the Dragon is going to be up in a couple of seconds here. You can see they're trying to make a play for DK Crew in this but
oh my gosh. And I mean, okay, Savage was there. Savage was there for a moment. Yukino absolutely melting them.
Savage aggressed on that too. Savage like eat in to ult. He pressed his ultimate. He didn't press barrier, didn't press flash. Why? Because he was the one that was making the play happen and still just got eviscerated. Yukino's too strong.
And that is yet another turret down in favor of EGP. They've got really solid control here. It's Clyde and Evan RL, though, that maybe recognize they have an opportunity onto Mia. Yukino and Donbray are, of course, in the wings. Clyde gonna have to flash away, trying to use that poison, not able to get anybody to walk into that. Yukino maybe for half of a second, but Faisal is right there in the wings. It is going to be a committed fight. They're not gonna take it over the wall. They are going to take down the dragon. They're gonna be able to get a bit of additional vision here, and now they're finding themselves at about a 5K gold lead in just a couple of minutes.
We're ignoring the fact that at some point in this game, there's going to come a time where Faisal's can be strong enough, maybe 2-3 items, where as soon as Donbray attaches, that's a 2v5. And not like a potential 2v5. It feels like if he presses Ragnarok and there are players nearby him enough for him to start auto-attacking, that there is nothing stopping Faisal from legitimately just killing all 5 members. And the only reason he wouldn't get a pentakill is if one happens to be stolen by Donbray. That's not... Like, that's not far off. That's a couple of seconds from now. That Faisal's going to be that strong. That the side of EG is going to be that strong. And that's not even mentioning Mia pulled 2 kills. Doxa is Doxa, and he's on Zed, and that's not good. And Yukino has been crazy in this game, doing really incredible things on the Taliyah. Hasn't really needed to, but done them anyway, and been able to make quite a bit of effect. And look at that, 17 minutes in, only just now is DK Crew holding the bottom tower for Evan RL. They weren't able to make that early, attention that they put into the bottom lane really end up mattering until right this moment where, yes, you get a tower, but it's too late.
Oh, Savage tries to go in with the Emperor's Divide. It's not going to be enough. That means that Mia with the Yuumi is going to be able to use that ultimate. In comes the rest of the team. Yukino taking quite a bit of damage. Hybrids is going to be able to get the jump on. The Gnar comes out. That means it's a big kill. The double kill going over to Dox in the meantime, who has to flash back to try to take down Hybrids. Mia should be able to get the damage here. It's still Mega Gnar. And there it is. Doxa finding himself the final kill. It is a 3-for-1.
And they get Yukino, but it doesn't matter, because not only did they lose the massive fight, Faisal's still in the side lane. Why? Because who wants to side lane against this? Like, it's not possible. EGP, they're winning every aspect of the game every time they play the DK Crew, and it kind of sucks to see, because we had really... They walked into our first tournament, DK Crew, at 32nd seed, and it sucks to see them, make such a big effort to make it to the very end of the year, and then fall flat at the last possible second. This was Doxa going kind of sicko mode a little bit in the midst of this fight, finding 2 kills. They'll get a third one at the end of this one as Hybrids had made sure to jump onto Yukino. And once again, he was probably the least fed member of this team, and he's still going crazy inside of a game like this. It just shows how valuable every member is to EG and their ability to play out of any given role to really heavily carry a game. That's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it is absurdly true for this squad specifically.
Ooh, and it's not even let's see if Doxa can get out. It's let's see how long until the rest of EGP can get in. Doxa able to at least get the assist on that one. That means that Mia they're now sending Savage on the run. The Weaver's Wall is going to come out. The passive at least applies here for Savage so that nobody's going to be able to dive under this tower for him. The rest of the DK Crew has managed to get here, but it's recalls that are now engaging through EGP. Will be enough to take out Yukino. Are they good? They should be able. Okay. They should aggress on this. There it is. We're going to see the Emperor's Divide come out, but the damage from Yukino is so much. He takes one down with him.
During the course of this series, it feels like this game specifically, Yukino's died 3 times, and the stats do not show how well that Yukino has played, because there are a number of times where the talent had a lot more impact than actually showed in the stat line. It's the same in this game, where this Taliyah's just done so much more. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Huh? Like, what are you gonna walk under his ear tower? What you think that does damage? Really? I like
how Evan was in the bush like, nah, we got him now. It's fine. This is it. It's good. It's good. We got him. You can 2v1 him. You talked about the fact that if this Yuumi's on him, sure, he can 1v or 2v5. Without the Yuumi, he can still do a lot here, and that just goes to show as Mia now tries to take on Shorter Ace. The ultimate from Yuumi will come out. The Dragon Kick in response. There might be enough range for Shorter Ace to have gotten himself out, and not only that, Hybrids is on the run. Out comes Gnar. Donbray has to escape from this one. Will he be able to, though? The W from Hybrids should be up any moment now. It's going to be a double kill going over to Savage.
Okay, good job coming through from the side of DK Crew as they're able to punish in the mid lane, find somebody that's overextended. Right there, it's Mia and Donbray. I don't think they're expecting Hybrids because they're like, oh, somebody's going to go top lane, right? Somebody's going to catch that wave. But they forget, no one can play against Faisal here. So, no, there's not going to be anyone top lane anytime soon. And so they end up getting flanked, and it actually gives an opportunity potentially for them to try this Baron. They've got enough damage for it, but no, they don't have enough health for it. That's the problem.
That is the problem, Clyde. Will likely go down here. Yukino on the run after Hybrids just give Faisal even more kills. Why not? Hybrids not going to be able to do what he needs to Yukino. And on the backside, Doxa says, yeah, walk back into your own jungle. You forgot that the assassin is here, and that means the Baron should pretty easily be going over to EGP because of that damage I keep talking about.
Uh-oh. Okay, Doxa has ultimate, has ignite. Evanarl's got flash and heal. Let's see. Okay, the shuriken's actually missed, so it was good job from Evanarl. I think Doxa just was anticipating a bit of movement that didn't end up happening right there. Oh, close enough. If we end up getting a replay of that, I actually want to point out a moment that I have a grievance with Faisal that we'll talk about here for a second. But EGP are absolutely wrapping this game. They're at 9k gold advantage. They're at third dragon out. Not even a win condition for DK Crew set up here. Baron buff definitely on the cards for them to be able to use to knock down a number of structures and continue this game. They're likely wrapping this one up really effectively. They had a hard group playing up against Maryville. The fact that those two were at the top of this group, it was kind of crazy. But I'll show this off when it jumps out in front of me here.
All right, good, because that's your job. I don't talk about.
Oh, it's my job.
I mean,
yeah,
you do that.
They're trying to take the numbers advantage, but look at that. Like, you can press one spell and okay.
Oh,
yeah,
never mind. You don't get to see it because the Weaver's Wall comes through. It's a big jump from Evanarl, but will it be enough damage? Absolutely not. When Mia has Donbray and Yukino is in the wings now, Hybrids may be looking for a chance.
Ultimate?
Very close to hitting. Maganar might be able to get multiple in the ultimate. It's the ultimate from Savage that actually comes in. The jump over the wall into the Gnar. Donbray goes over to Mia, and they end up taking down Yukino, but losing two more at the same time. Now,
Why?
in the middle, shorter ace, you can't win this. You can't win this fight.
He jumped into kick, and in one or two auto attacks in a Q, Faisal's still full health. It just doesn't matter. That's going to be Clyde trying to run away. He does get a good root off of his W, but mid tower is going down, mid inhibitor is going down. Faisal, at some point, he's going to stop caring about the towers, too, and like... everything's going to disarray here. I feel so bad for the DK Crew. They were one of our favorites. Again, they walked into this tournament dramatically underseeded. The first tournament dramatically underseeded. And they've garnered so much more respect because they've had, I think, 2 top 12 performances, or a top 16 and a top 12 performance over the course of these 2 tournaments, improving over the last 2.
Yeah, this is a real opportunity for them to go against one of the bigger teams, of course, because recently, they have been going along against some of the lower seeded teams. And maybe it's a little bit of a kick in the pants for them to recognize, hey, going back to comfort picks isn't going to work in this meta, especially against teams that are so flexible, like Evil Geniuses, Prodigies, and look at the damage now coming out of Faisal. Absolutely no way you're going to be able to get out of that one. Not only that, Faisal's more than okay with taking all these tower hits.
Remember when I said, hey, remember when Faisal gets attached by Yumi and he can just run at the opposing team? They go wild, guess what Faisal's doing right now? He's just running at the other team with Donbray attached. Who could have thought? It's a really terrible situation. EGP are just... This has been how all their games have played. I don't know, like, how easy it is for them to be able to accomplish this type of thing, but the fact that they walk out with this much ease is just incredible. They are fearsome walking into the top 8 now.
It is scary. Definitely scary to see that, especially when you have multiple members that require, a lot of bans for themselves individually, which is definitely what can be said there. Nice little Weaver's Wall. Just a little sacrificial lamb right there at the end is Yukino, but my gosh, he played out of his mind. I think you were totally right in saying, Rebel Fox, you were talking about kind of the scoreboard, the stats that we had laid out in front of us for Yukino did not reflect on how well he was playing. He was absolutely everywhere that they needed him to be. And I will commend DK Crew for doing a lot better job towards the second half of that match by just kind of responding to fights better, right? Actually collapsing on things instead of being on completely opposite sides of the map or not really having their visions pointed in the same direction. But it was still EGP that at the end of the day, it felt like they had control over a lot of that game. The roams were in their favor. The team fights were in their favor. The separations and the positionings were in their favor. So DK Crew, they've been an absolutely standout team, but there are definitely things that now we can directly say, hey, this needs to be kind of worked on. This needs to be adjusted as a team, and I really look forward to seeing how they're able to improve from here on out.
And at this point, I believe, after all the things, that currently they are behind in points to CLG Faith. And so at this point, it's a bad situation to be in, but DK Crew can no longer qualify for PG, which... It sucks. It sucks a lot that we actually don't end up getting a competition that really they almost dug themselves out of what was a 32nd seed in the first tournament to a PG spot. So that's something that I'll give a bunch of commendations to. I'm sure a lot of other people will talk about it, but walking in now to playoffs, like EGP having shown off that type of dominance, that type of gameplay, I love the confidence walking out of this team, coming out of this round. They knew, I think, that they were the second best, first best team inside of this group. The loss to Maryville was tough. They've traded off not just in this tournament, not just in this summer, not just in the spring, but like ever since the inception of EGP, it feels like those two teams have gone back and forth, and that EGP oftentimes gets the last laugh over that series. So in playoffs, I'm kind of excited to see if those two end up clashing once again. Would have to be in finals, but they played really well today. I'm excited to see them redeem themselves from their early playoff departure, from the first tournament here.
Yeah, still, I mean, these are names that obviously a lot of which we've seen before, and a lot of which we're just not going to be able to get out of our minds for the next little bit. So hopefully we see more coming from them in the future. In the meantime, we are going to take a very quick break. When we get back, I think we might have an interview here with the desk, and then they're going to lead us into our second best of 3 series of the day. So don't go anywhere. We've got more Proving Grounds coming up right after this.
Oh, what's going on, amigos? I got my main man Faisal with me. How you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling pretty good after that win.
I mean, as you should. So let me go ahead and start it off right here real quick. Did you plan to play Olaf every series? Or were you like, yo, I mean, if they're going to give it to me, I'm going to go ahead and lock that in.
I mean, I love Olaf. He was like my first top laner that I've like mained. And the rework, he's a lot better top now. And like, I like the matchup into Gnar, and they're blinding Gnar. So, yeah, I just said to my coach, just give me Olaf, I will be 9 in this game.
I mean, and consider the performance so far. Would you say that you actually 1v9 to the game?
I mean, it looked like it. I'm pretty sure, so I think, yeah.
All right, that's what's up right there. Of course, looking at the overall series on a broader perspective, right?
Yeah.
I imagine going into the game today, right? Were y'all nervous at all? I know you mentioned you also had the flu before too.
Oh, yeah.
So I imagine it took a little bit of recovery for you to get back up to speed, no?
Yeah, I mean, this series, I wasn't nervous at all, but like the series previously, yeah, I had the flu, so we couldn't scrim as much as we would like. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't feeling confident before, but I felt really confident going into this series today.
I mean, as you should. And considering with this, though, I hope you do know you have managed to secure the top 6 seeding going into PG. So with that, though, Proving Grounds is about a week away or so. And looking at your team right now, would you say that you are ready to go up against the best of Academy?
I think we can definitely make a long shot. We've been practicing a lot, learning a lot of stuff. And like, it feels really good to play because like we couldn't play before, so I think we can try to make a long shot in PG. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Because I know my boy Izo was out there hyping you up on the dash, bro, talking all that good, saying you the greatest and all that. So, so respect to him, and I think so far it's you definitely shown what you're capable of. Past that though, let me talk to you as a player, right? Because where you are right now, right? As Faisal, what is not being said about you? Why are people not putting enough respect on your name, you think?
I feel like people forget about me a lot, but I'm pretty sure like I could be any of these top winners in amateur, especially.
Okay.
I don't think anyone is particularly good in amateur, so yeah, I think people just forget about me because I'm not really like on social media a lot. I think that's
that's fine, but right here, right now, I want you to look in the camera, let them know what makes you better.
I mean, I just have confidence when I have like a good matchup. Yeah, and I can like carry my team to victory through macro, like, invading, anything. I like those things.
Okay, all right, and you did show here today that you can pretty much 1v9, so I'm sure people will be looking out for you a lot more because of that. Now, moving on forward though, of course, with PG up next, Academy right across the corner, and a couple more playoffs matches to go. The EGP right now, y'all as a team looking quite good. So why don't you go ahead and shout out and say what you want to your adoring fans out there?
Okay, I mean, for my fans, if I have any, I mean, our team is actually pretty good. We are like, our match last week was a little rough because we didn't get to play at all. That was like really sick. But yeah, with some scrims, I'm pretty confident in ourselves, and I hope you guys can be confident in us too going forward.
All right, I hope so too, and we'll see if y'all continue to perform the same. But I have more than enough faith in y'all to be able to do so. I appreciate you talking to me, and we'll cut it back to the desk in a couple of seconds to break down that series and moving on into the next one.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, hi, how you doing? Hi, Zo, man. It's just like you were telling me he was like confident, he was all that. He was so humble and nice, bro. He didn't even say anything bad about the other top laners. Look at him, class act, Faisal. But yeah, with that being said, though, let's go ahead and look to the series that we just had in front of us to try to break down what we just experienced. Shall we?
Sorry for dono walling you there.
You know what? It's fine. It's okay.
But
I'm not hurt about it.
basically, it looked like just a repeat of game one. This sort of just did the definition of insanity, drafted this sort of the same comp, and expected something to go different. They did have the really I mean, it's not as spicy as it used to be, but they had the Singe counterpick into Zerayumi, which is cool. But, I mean, Faisal Olaf kind of just ran over the game.
I mean,
1v9 indeed, and by the end of it, like you already mentioned, right? It's if nothing really changes, then nothing can actually happen, veteran.
I mean, I really like the Singe pick as well. I like the heavy all-in bot lane that they had, but again, like, I mean, Talia was ganking bot before Lee Sin did, and he's the guy that has the all-in acceleration lane, the lane that definitely comes online the earliest as well. Like, it was a lot about the fact that Short Range just doesn't facilitate his lane as he capitalizes on them, right? And so even when they end up with great all-in, easy to play around matchups like this, they can't leverage what they need to from it to get an advantage to end up winning the game. I actually play both of these supports, but I play them both in top lane. And Singe is a very, very good pick here, and I was very glad to see it. And I was also very glad to see Yuumi combined with an Olaf team, and obviously with the Zeri on bot lane. You could have gone harder counters. For example, Twitch is really, really good in this setup as well. And you could even pair that up with something that could be good into an Olaf, like for example the Cassio later on. But ultimately, it didn't seem like anything they did mattered because they don't play the early game as a unit. They don't. They play it as if it's solo queue, and they were against a team that plays the game as a team, right? That plays this professionally and properly, and it looked that way. It looked very, very one-sided. We call this tournament PG, but this was for mature audiences only what we saw for the last two games. It wasn't even close, and it was very, very well deserved by EGP.
Nice. Speaking of things that are definitely above the PG rating, let's look at our first replay of the day of what Faisal decided to do with the other team, and giving leads like that should never happen here, Aiza.
Yeah, we have this really cinematic version of Faisal kind of ego walking into two people, knowing that he has a Senna to back him up with an ult, but I don't know if he even needed it. He just kind of walked in and beat them both up. He didn't need any help. No one really I mean, I watched him walking into two people recon. I was like, I wonder what he's doing, and then he just killed them both. I just didn't understand.
It looked like a bait as well. Like it looked like Shorter Ace and Co were baiting, you know. But they underestimated the damage that this Olaf has. The guy who knows his Olaf damage was fully happy to handshake that, and yeah, went his way.
Impressive on its own is the fact that he managed to pull that off. Because I know we after that point were just yelling, "All right, cool." That's fun. I guess Nard doesn't get to play the game anymore now. And that's effectively what did happen, because then they continued to snowball their entire lead, after which as well. Past which, we can't speak on the rest of the game because it's not as though any of the lane went much differently for the rest of DK, sadly. Because even though it seemed as though they might have had small advantages somewhere, they just were not able to capitalize on either the counter picks they had or much more being done. And just right here is pretty fun, I'd say. Better.
Yeah, I mean, we have a fail engage here from Savage. Everybody is kind of out of sync here on the side of a DK crew, but EG, they know that they win the longer this game goes on for, the longer that they can extend, the better shot they have at winning with the Yuumi. Singe does throw stuff on Maya to prevent Yuumi detach, but Yuumi doesn't even need to do anything there. All he does is prevent Maya jumping in But again, the longer the fight goes, the stronger that things get for EG. What we saw there was a very, very out of sync team with a team that had very simple principles that they had to abide by, but they did abide by them, right? And as a result, they were always going to be the better team fighting team coming in here. This is definitely a prediction I think we all made universally at the start of the series. And yeah, but like the only way that they had to win was definitely through these early game all-ins that ultimately never panned out for them.
Sadly, no. But with that being said, big shout out to the DK crew and all their fan supporters behind them. I know y'all got a lot of them, although unfortunate that they had to end their run this way, but they absolutely played their hearts out. It's just EGP was truly the better team here today. And as already mentioned before, they have secured in the top 6 spot moving in to Proving Grounds as well next week. So we'll see what kind of fight they can put up against the best academy. But I'll digress for now, as that was the end of our first series of the day. We do, of course, have one more series of the day, that being AGT versus CLG. A much closer matchup than I know we're all personally looking at on the other stream, though. I know it is currently still 1-1 against the two, so that series is going the distance currently. Aizo, why did you get your quick thoughts on the second series today?
I think that Ginger Turmeric is the clear favorite. But luckily for CLG, since DK Crew just lost, that is one of their competitors out that is vying for the top 10 spots. I think the only other competitor is the other series match with Tempest. If Tempest loses their matchup, then CLG will just sort of slide on through regardless of the outcome of this match. But I think it is pretty Ginger Turmeric favored.
It is indeed, because yet again, CLG, although they have reduced one competitor of DK Crew who was vying for the exact same spot they were, they are yet again the exact same spot where their backs against the wall, looking at 10th place. And although the win would most definitely help, and they do also have to hope the Temple Storm don't manage to somehow make some sort of miracle run against the match they currently have as well against TBA. So you gotta perform. The time is now, and this is it. What personally happened, or what might possibly happen, is currently a mystery. So guess you'll have to stick around and find out the fate of these two teams. We'll see you back in a bit.